Hi, it's Gail Bird. In the spirit of making more videos, today I grabbed a random handful of buttons and threw them under the camera. These brown, orange, black ones looked great together, just randomly out of the pile, so I started making something. I had no plan other than putting them into some sort of vague cluster that might look good on a neck or in a brooch or whatever. This wire that I'm using is the first not silver wire that I put my hand onto, and it's Smoky Quartz from Parawire, of course, in 22 gauge. Again, there's nothing planned or special about this. I just wanted a color to work with the random buttons. The first step was clearly to thread the buttons onto the wire, and I suppose it's funny that I say thread because it does start to seem like I'm sewing these buttons together and, buttons, sewing. At first, even though I'm holding the buttons flat, they start to wiggle all over the place once there are more buttons than I have thumbs because they're only held on by a single wire. So I just let them be random and wonky because by this point I'm starting to have a plan. I'm going to get to the other end, create this little layout of buttons, and come back through with the wire to stabilize the layout. Which I guess is always the idea that I start with to create this foundation. I normally stabilize and then decorate. In this case, I didn't exactly decorate, I guess. The stabilization was so random that its squiggliness kind of became the decoration. So it's not as refined as some of the other pieces that I've worked on or shown you. Anyway, I tried to make my stabilizing connections graceful, and I added some curves and curls here and there, while all the while hoping it would pull together. When I got to the side of the button layout, I added a twisted loop so I could connect a chain later. Then I came back across the front of the buttons, twisting them and sewing and curling and whatever as I went by until I ran out of wire. realized that the layout wasn't balanced. Asymmetry is good, as we discussed, but there's clearly a big hole here. It's definitely off kilter. There are various ways to balance out a design that's kind of gone sideways, but in this case, I just went with filling in a vague U-shaped space with more buttons. I adjusted the layering of the buttons so they were integrated and interesting rather than repetitive. So that black button in particular looked best when angled and layered in the opposite direction to those around it. The wiring process made it a little wonky, but I think I pulled it back into place. From here, we're mostly talking the final structure and a bit more in terms of decoration. I'm testing the buttons to see if there are any loose, and I found that instead of individual buttons, there were a couple of sections that were a bit wobbly, so I added more wire to strengthen those connections. I took this opportunity to also finalize the outline of the shape, adding some loops into the negative space, while also tying together intersections of wire by wrapping around them as I passed by. This finished bib piece is going to look great once I find my copper chain, at least I think so. And I'll probably add some buttons onto the sides of the chain and maybe some wrapped beads in the same colorway, just to make it more interesting than some buttons on a chain. I suppose today's unintentional lesson is that if you have the techniques down, you don't necessarily need to plan ahead. You can let the materials inspire you and just stick to the basics, stabilize and decorate. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay creative.